This conference will now be recorded.
Hi and welcome all to this webinar series hosted by EduLoans along with its financial partner Leap Finance. We have with us the CEO of Leap Finance. He is Mr. Vaibhav Singh, who would be the speaker and the presenter for today's webinar. This webinar series has been started by EduLoans, and we have these webinars for our financial partners week on week. And we thank you all for being a part of this webinar today. I'm Gurpreet Singh Sethi. I am the product manager at EduLoans. During the webinar, we would request you to keep your systems on mute. However, you can use the chat box to type in your questions, which would be answered towards the end of the presentation. We are also recording this session, and this session would be available on our website in the next 2 to 3 days. You could feel free to have a review of the same. So now I hand over this session to Vaibhav, who will be taking it further. And at the end, we will then have the question and answer session. Vaibhav, over to you now.
Great. Thanks, Gurpreet. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining in. Good to see, good to meet all of you in this session. The way I want to structure this is maybe we have a few slides. We'll spend the next no more than 15 minutes just talking about who we are at Leap Finance, what is our offering for you, how are we sort of different from some of the other financial providers who focus on international students. And then, as Gurpreet mentioned, I want to save enough time towards the second half of this of the 30 minutes we have, so that I can take all your specific questions and hopefully be able to address many, if not all of them. So we'll dive straight in, guys. Gurpreet, can you move to the next slide, please? Just as a quick context on who we are, as I said, I'm Vaibhav Singh. I co-founded Leap Finance with Arnav. Both Arnav and I went to IIT Kharagpur, so we strongly sort of associate with many of you guys. You know, we are engineers ourselves. You know, who have many friends who walk the same path as you are seeking to walk in the months to come. We are now a 25 odd member team. We were founded in the second half of last year, so we've been around for about 7 months now. We have offices in both Bangalore and San Francisco in the US. I'll come to why that setup allows us to essentially offer you a far superior product. We are backed by Sequoia Capital. Many of you, I'm guessing, would have heard of Sequoia. They are one of the world's largest venture capitalists, and they joined us in our journey very early to help high potential students like yourself access the best financial product in the market. Now, I have been in the student lending business for a few years as well. In the past, I have worked at Indian lenders who were sort of, targeting providing financing for students like yourself looking to go abroad. And as I was building that business out, I realized that there was one fundamental product gap which Indian students faced when they were borrowing from lenders in India. Next, please. And that was the fact that Indian students like yourself were often borrowing at interest rates which were twice as high as what interest rates American students like yourself would borrow. So, in the past, I have financed more than 3,000 plus students like yourself, and many of them sort of got back in touch with me and say, hey, Vaibhav, while obviously we appreciate that you supported us in our journey, but after going to the US, they realized that interest rates offered to American students for similar universities, for similar programs like yourself, students with the same backgrounds like yourself, were at times borrowing at 6 7% versus obviously most Indian lending happening at 12, 13, 14, and sometimes even 15%. And that big product gap, that big spread, essentially what Indian students have to pay, because they are they are compelled to borrow in Indian rupees, is what we look to solve fundamentally at Leap Finance. Next, please. So we believe we've built what is essentially the most friendly product for international students like yourself. That has many aspects to it. The first and the foremost aspect is the low rates of interest. We offer loans in the 8 to 10% range. We are able to offer these interest rates because we lend to you in US dollars, and therefore effectively are able to lend to you at rates which prevail in developed economies like the US, rather than in economies like India, where given the high inflation rate, given the economy is still developing, interest rates tend to be higher. Our rates are fixed in nature, i.e., they do not change during the tenor of the loan. Once we give you a loan at a certain rate, then for however long you choose to service the loan, say the longest tenors we offer are 10 years, your rate will be fixed. It will not change depending upon any macroeconomic factor, and that certainty is something which we believe is just allows you to plan your cash flows so much more better. All our loans are collateral free, i.e., we do not require pledging any assets, your home, your father's business, your fixed deposits, or anything of that sort. All our loans are unsecured. All our loans are made evaluating and backing your future potential. We believe in you, and we believe you will do great things once you make the journey to the US and graduate from some of the best schools. And therefore we are backing you, and we're not lending basis collateral which you can or cannot provide. We provide very attractive upfront fee structures. This fee is given our loans are in dollars. This is the total fee cost which you incur in the loan. Sometimes when you borrow, obviously in currencies other than the currency you want. So if you were to borrow in INR, in addition to the processing fee which lenders charge, you also incur FX costs and FX slippages. None of that applies to Leap loans. Our loans are in US dollars. You want to obviously make payments to the university in US dollars. Most of you, I know, will stay back in the US after you graduate and therefore earn in US dollars. Our repayments are again in US dollars. So there is no hidden element of cost around FX or anything of that sort. The fourth key aspect why we believe we've got a compelling product proposition for you is that we cover the entire cost of education. This includes your tuition, your living expenses, your insurance costs, books, everything which essentially allows you to get through school. As I repeat myself, we back your future potential, and we provide our loans provide for all the needs for you to be able to actually realize that potential. And finally, this is a point I mentioned on the first slide as well. We've got a double DNA in terms of our location. We are present in the US. We've got a large office in Bangalore. We are therefore able to offer you localized customer support in both countries. So we're able to offer you support in India while you are here. We're able to support you in the US once you get there, in case you need any help in servicing the loan, you have any questions around the loan. So these factors make us believe that we've got the most compelling product proposition for guys like you. Next, please. And so combined with those truly innovative and truly customer focused product propositions, we've also got the simplest process out there. Our process is fully online. We do not as a matter of fact, we've got no sort of form of engagement where you need to come and meet us. All you need to do is jump onto leapfinance.com. It's a seamless digital journey. In less than the offer will cover the amount we can finance and at what terms, i.e., what interest rate. Once you post the offer, you are enabled to sort of submit all your documents online. Again, very seamless process. We've till date processed close to 1,500 applications, and the average time a student spends on an application is under 30 minutes. End to end, and within 72 hours, that's within 3 days, we are able to issue you a sanction. And that sanction obviously then allows you to go and get your I-20, go and apply for the visa, and sort of complete the next process. So literally, all you need to do is log in online, input certain basic details about your past academic background. You get an offer in the matter of minutes. Post the acceptance of the offer, simply provide us certain basic documentation, and you're done in under 30 minutes. Within 3 days of providing the documents, we will issue you the final sanction, which you can take to process your move abroad. Then, at the point of disbursement, once you're sort of ready to go to the US, we disburse. Given we are essentially so, I've seen students when they are on the verge of actually leaving India and going to the US. You've got so many things to sort out in those last few days. You don't need to worry about disbursements with Leap. We will pay whatever you ask us to pay for your tuition and living expenses to the university. And, that's another sort of process simplification which we bring to you. Next, please. On we are focused on currently on all Indian students, like everyone today on this webinar. Currently, we are financing only students going to the US and financing students pursuing master's programs in STEM. We cover 200 plus schools, so we've got very wide coverage in the US. Across those schools, we finance that number is now increased a little bit, so about almost close to 2,500 courses. So as long as you're going to one of these 200 schools, wanting to pursue an MS in STEM across 2,500 plus courses, you are eligible for a loan from Leap, and all it will take you to see the offer, which or the terms of the loan is literally 10 minutes of your time sitting in front of your laptop. That's how easy we've made borrowing. Next. We can keep going. I have sort of already covered this as well. I know this presentation will be shared with all of you post the webinar. So again, to reiterate, sign up online, 10 minutes you get an offer, accept the offer, give us the documents. This process on average takes students no more than 30 minutes, usually much under. Within 3 days, get a sanction letter. You can take that sanction letter and continue sort of, to get your I-20 visa. Once you've got those in place, come back to us, sign our loan agreement, tell us how much you want to disburse to the university, and we will do that directly for you. Repayments will start between 6 to 9 months after you graduate, depending upon the terms we offer you. Next, please. Yeah, this is the offer screen. To get to this screen, guys, it takes you no more than 10 minutes, usually less. So I'd encourage you, all of you who are looking to go abroad in the coming months, looking to go to the US, sign up on leapfinance.com and you will get to know the terms which we will be able to finance you at. Next, please. Just a quick comparison. Lenders focused on students like yourself. We are very proud of the product we've built for you. I've covered some of these aspects. Just a quick run through. We obviously offer dollar loans which are fixed, i.e. they remain the same through the tenor of the loan. The interest rates we offer are amongst the lowest globally and definitely much cheaper. Yes, Gurpreet, can you stay on this slide, please? And definitely much cheaper than interest rates you can avail from lenders in India. All our loans are unsecured. We are backing the great things which you guys will do in your future lives, and therefore we underwrite basis your potential and not basis collateral or security which you can offer. Our process is completely online, and that's particularly important given the current situation we find ourselves in. So we are very much open for business. Given everything you need to do to apply for a loan from Leap Finance can be done online. It can be done from the convenience of your home, which differentiates us versus many of the traditional lenders out there. We finance the full cost of attendance over the duration of the course. So if you're going for a 2-year program, we'll finance you the entire amount across tuition, living, books, health, everything which goes into sort of making sure you get through college, which is again unlike most of the products out there, which either offer you partial sanctions. Some lenders only offer you financing for the first year, which then creates uncertainty over how do you figure out finances in the second year. And finally, I've touched upon the fee component. All our costs are upfrontly presented to you. We have no other hidden fees or charges around FX risk. What you pay upfront to us will be told to you transparently at the time of sanction. That's paid when you sign the loan agreement with us, and that remains fixed again once we've issued the offer to you. Next, please. Yeah, and just as we wrap up at least the presentation, we've financed a couple of hundred students now, like yourselves, super excited about being able to sort of help and be a part of your future growth story. So, would encourage all of you to come and apply with us, and hopefully you will be as strong believers as we are of what we believe is the best product out there for international student study. Great, Gurpreet. I think I'm done, and yeah. So we've got, I guess, another 10-15 minutes for questions.
Sure, I'll take it up from here. Thank you so much. So we all would like to thank on behalf of EduLoans. We want to thank Weber for taking a super informative session from his experience in the finance industry and being the head or the CEO of Leap Finance. I'm sure he was able to throw some light on getting an understanding across to the students in regards to their product. Now we are open now for a question and answer session, and I already see a couple of questions that have come up. So Webab, I'll read out those questions to you, and I hope you could throw some light on those questions and provide answers to the same as well.
Absolutely, Gurpreet.
Sure. So the first question we have is, will you provide a recording for this session later? So as I initially mentioned at the start of the webinar, that this session is being recorded, and those who would want to view this session can always visit our website. The website address is given on the screen, which is www.eduloans.org. In the next 2 to 3 days, you can view the entire recording. It will be available online. The next question is from Malaika. Uh, will my parents' CIBIL be checked? I would leave this question up to you to answer, Weber.
Yes. So, hi, Malaika. We do require at least one of your parents to come on the loan as part of the process of, firstly, we are, as I kept repeating through the webinar, we are backing your future potential. Our underwriting is 90% plus based on your profile, your past academic records, if you've got work experience, the sort of college and course you're going to. So it's fundamentally based on you. We do take cosigners on our loan. 90% of students, 95% of students provide a parent as a cosigner. We do a bureau check of the cosigner, but we are not using the cosigner to determine the eligibility of your application. Adaptability. As I mentioned in my introduction, I have been financing international students for a few years now, and in my experience, we've seen that at times students, once they've moved abroad, moved to the US, are hard to stay connected with. That's where we believe having a local Indian cosigner allows us to better be in touch and communicate with the students like yourself. And therefore, we've got cosigners on the loan, and we do basic checks around the cosigner, including the bureau, specifically to the question you asked, but we are not using the cosigner to determine your overall eligibility.
The next question is from Dhriti Bopana, and she would want to know, what do you mean by lowest fee?
Yes. So, Dhriti, there is various components to the upfront fee which lenders charge. They get categorized under various heads. Lenders charge Some lenders charge an upfront application fee. Other lenders charge a processing fee at the time of sort of approving the loan. Other lenders charge insurance before they make you pay for insurance before you actually are allowed to draw down on the loan. Then there are hidden costs if you borrow in a currency outside US dollars. If say you're going to the US, then you have to pay an FX charge. You have to pay an FX spread. The rates which you will get in making a transfer from say INR to USD will not be the rates which you see on Google. You'll be paying a spread there. So there are various components of these charges for Leap Finance. And just to reiterate, some of those charges are upfront, some of those charges are sort of hidden, in the sense they are inbuilt, like FX charges, which are not explicitly stated, but is a cost which you have to ultimately bear. At Leap Finance, our charges are very, very straightforward. At the time of approval, we will tell you a processing fee. That processing fee becomes due at the time of loan agreement execution. It's something we collect before we disburse the money on the loan. And that is transparently stated to you. There are no other subsequent charges which apply to you availing the loan. And the reason why we call them lowest, most of our
The next question
international
is,
peers, sorry, Gurpreet, just final statement there. Most of our international competitors charge a 4 to 5% upfront fee. Most Indian lenders charge a lower a processing fee around a percentage, around 1 percentage point. But then there are costs associated with insurance and FX, which mean that the eventual cost of borrowing in INR in terms of fee, becomes closer to 3 to 4%. Versus that, our processing fee charges of about 1.5 to 2% are the lowest available.
the next question is, what documents are required for the sanction letter?
Yeah, so the documents we require for the sanction letter are obviously regulatory documents, which are essentially a KYC, something which proves your identity and your address. In addition, we will require documents of your past academic background, your 10th and 12th mark sheets, your international exam scores, usually, GRE, GMAT, IELTS, TOEFL, whichever ones you've taken. We will also, if you've, in your application, if you've shown that you've had past work experience, we will require just your last 3 months pay slips, or you can give us your bank statement where the salary credits are seen. So essentially KYC documents, academic documents, and documents confirming any work experience which you've done. uh, for your co-signer, we would again require the KYC documents, which is a regulatory requirement, and some document verifying or proving their income, which could again be pay slips, could be bank statements, could be income tax returns. Pretty standard financial documentation for the co-signer as well.
The next question is from Dhriti again. Do you finance for all undergrad students to US?
Unfortunately, Dhriti, we are currently focused only on master's students, so graduate students who are going for master's programs in STEM. Currently, we do not cover any undergraduate students. Uh, I don't think that will change this season. Of course, in the future, we may look to expand to undergraduate students as well.
Malaika has another question. Any payment needed during study period?
Yes, so this is something you select, Malaika, at the time of application. We will require a small monthly payment from you during your period of study, as well as the period of grace post you pass out from college before the full sort of payment kicks in. These payments range anywhere between $50 to $200. That is something which you choose. We do not determine that. The reason why we do that is twofold. One, it reduces the making a small payment while you're studying reduces the overall cost of borrowing for you, because otherwise what happens is if you make no payments during study, interest keeps accumulating in the background, and then you have to pay interest on interest. Therefore, it is in sort of your overall economic interest that you make small payments even while you're studying, such that either the entire or substantially large part of the interest which you're accruing gets paid. And therefore, when you graduate, it should not be that you've taken a $50,000 loan, but essentially you start paying EMIs on a $60,000 loan because you've accrued interest. So that's one reason. It reduces the overall cost of borrowing. It's a small payment which you choose. The second big reason why we take this small payment is again a USP we are able to offer to students, given we are a US dollar lender, is we, with these small payments, will help you build your US credit history from day one in the US. So that by the time you graduate from college, you have excellent FICO scores in the US. You can then go and access financial products offered by US organizations as soon as you pass out. Otherwise, what happens is, if you borrow, or say if you don't borrow at all in the US, you either borrow in India or you pay from your own savings. Students, once they get out of school, realize the importance of a credit score in the US. Literally, the deposit you will pay on your rental, where you sort of move in and stay post college, the deposit amount is a function of your US credit score in the US. So we help you build that US credit score. It just allows you to become a super prime customer, the way US financial institutions would look at you from the very beginning. And these are two reasons we charge that small payment, which, again, as I said, unlike the loan terms, this is a payment which you choose depending upon how much you feel comfortable paying while you're studying.
The next question is from Divya. Are there any pre-closure charges?
Absolutely not, Divya. You can close the loan in part or the full amount at any given time without a single cent being charged. We actually strongly encourage students to make prepayments. It reduces your overall cost of borrowing, so no charges at all.
Tanmay is asking, what all things are included in living expenses?
So, Tanmay, the usual things, these are things which are all sort of published by your university. Usually, there are these include obviously the cost of your accommodation. These include food. These include travel. These include books. These include health insurance. So, yeah, essentially everything which is something is money you need to get through school outside tuition.
The next question is, wouldn't taking a loan and paying back in INR be cheaper on the whole than a US dollar based loan or any other higher currency?
See I'm guessing the question there is so. Firstly, your interest rate and fees is much lower. So your upfront costs are much lower. I think the question there is probably suggesting what happens if currencies move. Is that the question, Gurpreet? And INR depreciates.
So let me just reiterate the question or read it again to you. Wouldn't taking a loan and paying back in INR be cheaper on the whole than a loan in US dollars or any other higher currency?
Okay, if that's just the question, then no, the answer is no. You will be paying 13-14% on an INR loan on average across most institutions. With LEAP, you'll be paying anywhere between 8 to 10% in annual interest rate. You'll be paying an upfront fee, which will be lower. You will be in sort of, in making transfers from INR to dollars and then back from dollars to INR. So unless you have a strong view on the currency, and that strong view needs to be that the currency moves sharply in a straight line over the life of the loan, which is really not how currency markets operate. No, borrowing in US dollars is substantially cheaper, and it's the right thing for you to do because essentially you are removing all uncertainty from your loan payments because you at today you guys need dollars, and most of you will in your future lives once you get out of college will again be earning in dollars, and everything in a dollar loan is denominated in that currency, and therefore you remove all uncertainty from the borrowing, and it's cheaper because it's at a much lower interest rate.
The next question is from Sagar Mehta. He questions saying, why not collateral loans?
Why not? Okay, that's an
I think that
interesting.
question is not that clear. Vaibhav, would you want to answer that?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to answer that. I think simply because we believe in your potential, guys. We don't believe whether, on what sort of backgrounds you come from, what sort of families you come from. We believe you hold significant sort of future upside, future growth potential, and we are backing that. And that's therefore a LEAP loan is not on the basis of assets you can pledge to get the loan. It's basis your past credentials and sort of the college and course you're going to and your future income outcomes.
The next question is from Bharat Jariwala. List of universities, please. So, Bharat, let me just inform you that there are numbers of the loan officers or the loan counselors at EduLoans that are shown on the screen. You could feel free to call any of these numbers, and we would be able to send across the list of universities to you. I'll take the next question from Sandeep, which is what all documents are needed to be uploaded?
Sorry, okay, I can repeat that. There was a question on documents earlier as well, but it's for you as the student applicant, we'll need your KYC documents, your academic credentials, basically that's your 10th, 12th undergraduate transcripts, uh, your documents for whatever international exam you've taken, GRE, GMAT, TOEFL, IELTS, whatever you did to sort of apply to the university. If you have work experience, we'll require documents confirming that work experience, usually pay slips or a bank account statement which shows those salary credits. That's for you as the student. For the co-signer on the loan, we would require again the KYC documents, which are a regulatory requirement. So basically, a PAN or an Aadhaar suffices, and we would require some financial income document that again can be salary slips, can be bank statements, or can be just simply income tax returns.
Sham has a question. Is there any LIBOR component in the APR, and how it changes your APR?
Absolutely, Sham. That was the reason why I was emphasizing on the word fixed in terms of our interest rate. There is no variable component, LIBOR being the most commonly used variable interest rate. There is no such component in our loan. If you get, say, just a 9% loan from LEAP, that remains a 9% loan through the life of the loan for tenors as long as 10 years if that's the tenor you choose to make the repayments. So no, there is no variable portion which attached to our loans, which is essentially, guys, very important for you to fully appreciate in the current macro environment right now. Just given the turbulence in the global economy, interest rates are at the lowest really levels. Once we recover, there is every chance that interest rates go up from here. I'm sure all of you guys would have looked at where interest rates, particularly LIBOR, was trading, literally 6 to 9 months ago. And therefore, we want to remove that uncertainty from all your loans. Our loans, thus, are fully fixed. The interest rate remains the same, not linked to any variable rate benchmark.
Malaika has another question. Is compounding interest calculated while I am studying, and is it calculated on daily, monthly, or yearly basis?
So, Malaika, the way it will work is you will make small payments through the course of study as well, as I was just describing a few minutes ago. If your interest component is greater than the small payments you make, then that keeps accumulating through the course of the year and gets added to your loan amount. Once you graduate from school and start making the full payments, then there is no question of sort of compounding. Then it's a reducing balance loan. But while you are studying, is effectively during that period, if there is an excess interest amount over and above the small payment which you're making, that is added at the end of the year. So during that period, compounding is yearly, if that makes sense.
The next question is a very good question in the current scenario by Bharat Jariwala. If student will not get visa, then will y'all refund the processing charges?
So we only charge the processing charge once you've given us the visa and are signing the loan agreement. So no question of a refund. We don't take it before you sign the loan agreement and before you are actually ready to go abroad.
I hope that answers his question. And the next question is from Harkrishan Sundaram. The processing fees is fixed or will it vary according to the profile?
So the processing fee is anywhere between 1.5 to 2 percentage points. It does vary a little bit depending upon the there are certain checks and balances which we need to do in the background for every profile. We've got our associated costs with those checks, and therefore it will be in that range. And yes, it will within that range it will change for a student.
Malaika is asking, is there any loan insurance needed to be taken?
At this stage, we do not insist on any insurance to be attached to our loans.
Uh, Hiren, there is someone by the name of Hiren Sabla who wants to ask, with all due respect, the deal being offered is definitely lucrative, but with the company being only 7 months old, is there any assurance that you can provide us with that you won't back out from disbursing or from the loan agreement in general due to any XYZ reason like financial instability, etc.?
Yeah, so Hiren, all I can say to that is essentially we are obviously experienced financial services people. I have been in financial services for over a decade, been in retail lending for most part of it. There is a lot of credibility we have attached to this business. We are backed by one of the world's most renowned venture capitalists, Sequoia, as I mentioned in the upfront. On the first slide in the introduction to Leap, funded students. So to that extent, we recognize we are a young brand, but we are not youngsters. We know that when we are making a commitment to you to provide financing period, we will honor that. Tell you one thing as well, Hiren, because you sort of specifically mentioned about our vintage. Probably would have followed what has been happening in Indian financial services over the last couple of years. And without specifically naming peers, there were international 10 plus years almost, and who backed out on providing financing in the second year, or actually even in the second semester of students in 2018 and 19 when the financial sort of crisis hit India. So I don't think company vintage is necessarily a proxy of in today's times is necessarily a proxy of how sort of committed they are to
Uh,
actually future financing. Hello, sorry, Gurpreet, were you saying something?
so we just take the last three questions that I was saying, so we'll just take the last three questions that are showing up currently. And for those who have any further questions, they can feel free to call on the numbers flashing on the screen. These are the loan officers or loan counselors at EduLoans. So Dipro has a question. In case of deferral of admission to 2021, do we have to reapply for a loan again next year?
Yeah, so see, essentially, what would happen is all you really need to do is refresh us with your circumstances. You may have gotten an admit from another college. There's a fair chance that you've stayed another year in the job you are currently in, if you are in a job, or if you're just graduating, you've probably then gone ahead and worked for a year. So any changes in your individual circumstances over that period of 1 year, you just need to come and refresh that information on our application portal. As I said again, it's the most seamless digital journey. Will take you only a few minutes, and then we will be able to quickly reassess your case and issue you a fresh sanction.
We have Mr. Desai who wants to know, do you support any University of California?
Currently, we are not supporting universities in California. We are present across 13 states in the US. California is not one of them. However, having said that, we are continuously adding states, schools, courses. So I would say, please, sort of keep coming to our website, and as soon as we add California, you can apply for loans to schools in the state.
We'll just take this as a last question from Divya. If we choose to opt for an internship, will the money for fees still be disbursed from your end?
Uh, no, Divya, that's a great question. We only disburse what you need. So, as your payments become due to the university, you will effectively have to just let us know whether you want us to make that payment or not. If, and this happens very, very commonly, obviously, most students after the second semester do an internship and therefore really don't need at least the full disbursement for the third and fourth semesters. You can tell us not to make that disbursement, and that's fine. So we will sanction the total cost of attendance. How much of that you want is completely driven by how much of that you need. And so if you had to choose for a $70,000 sanction, if you ultimately really ended up needing $40,000 because you figured out other internships, RA-ships, got some money on the side, then well, that's fine. We will only disburse 40,000.
I hope that answers the questions that were asked by most of the students today. And thank you, Weber, for providing insights to the answers. And I hope it was a super informative session for all the people who took time out, even in this time of crisis, to attend this webinar today. We are continuing our webinar series. The next one would be uh, taken next week. We are conducting that on next Thursday at the same time. We will be sending out necessary communication to all the students for the same. Uh, I really thank Weber for taking out the time today and giving us such a wonderful webinar. And in case of any further queries, you can feel free to call on the numbers that are on the screen for the loan officers or loan counselors at EduLoans. I now hand over for the last few words to Weber, and then we call it a session. Bye-bye. Bye for now.
Sure. No, thanks. Thanks, Gurpreet, for having me. Thanks to all the students who took time out to listen to us. Again, just sort of final word. We are here effectively to back all the great things which you guys have ahead of you in your future. And we at Leap Finance look at if we can make a small contribution to it in helping you get there, then our sort of mission as a company is accomplished. So look forward to seeing many of you engaging with us in the days and weeks to come.
All of
Thank you.
you, stay home and stay safe. Those are the last words from our side. Thanks for today. Bye-bye.